Have you ever felt overwhelmed by things that haven't even happened yet? Thoughts like, what if I don't have enough money this month? What if I lose my job? What if my health gets worse? What if everything falls apart tomorrow? We live in a world that constantly pushes us to look ahead, but not with hope, with fear. And the worst part is that, most of the time, those fears never even come true. But in the meantime, our minds grow tired, our hearts grow heavy, and our peace slowly fades away. We feel like we have to have everything figured out, everything planned, everything under control. But that just adds more weight to our shoulders. We demand ourselves to be strong all the time, but deep down, we're exhausted. Let me tell you something your soul might need to hear today. You don't have to be in control of everything. You're not alone, and you don't have to carry tomorrow by yourself, because God is already there. He doesn't just know your future. He holds it in his hands. This message isn't meant to tell you to ignore your responsibilities. It's meant to remind you that you weren't created to live in constant anxiety. God doesn't expect you to have all the answers. Just wants you to trust him. Today, we're going to talk about a truth that can completely change the way you think, feel, and face each day. God is in control of everything, even when you can't see it, even when you don't understand it, even when it's hard to believe. So, stay with me, because this message might be exactly what your heart needed to hear. Asterisk, asterisk. When tomorrow becomes a burden, do you know when tomorrow becomes an unbearable weight? When we start living it before it's time, that we think about what hasn't even happened yet, but we feel it as if it's already taking place. We worry about things that don't yet exist, but our mind and body react as if they're real. Our heart races. Our thoughts won't stop. Our emotions spiral, and all of that over something that hasn't even happened. Jesus, with his eternal wisdom, made it clear in Matthew 6:34. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Do you know what that means in simple words? God doesn't want you to carry the weight of 2 days at once. He knows today is already enough. At present already demands your strength, your focus, your faith. And if you add what hasn't even come yet, you break. But why do we do it? Because we crave certainty. Because we fear losing control. Because we think that if we anticipate everything, we'll suffer less. But in reality, we suffer more because we disconnect from the present moment. We drift away from peace. We forget who's truly in control. Let me lovingly tell you this. Worrying about tomorrow doesn't make it any safer. It only steals the peace of today. And you weren't created for that. You were created to trust, to rest, to walk hand in hand with the Father every day. Do you know what would change if today you gave that worry, that fear, that burden to God? Not every scenario would instantly shift, but the way you face them would. With less anxiety, with more hope. With a lighter heart, and a soul more connected to the Creator. Because when you admit you can't do it alone, when you release control and give it to God, that's when true freedom begins. What does it mean that God is in control? We often say, God is in control. And it sounds good. It brings calm. It offers hope. But do we really understand what that means? It's not just a phrase to repeat when things go wrong. It's not a cliche for quick comfort. It's a deep, powerful, transformative truth, but one that only sets us free when we believe it with all our heart. When we say God is in control, we're admitting that not everything depends on us. And even though that may seem obvious, we often struggle to accept it because we're used to having the final say. To planning every step. To trying to control every outcome. And when something slips through our fingers, we feel like everything is falling apart. But that's where God steps in. Because while you see chaos, he already has a purpose. While you see closed doors, He's already prepared better paths. While you don't understand what's happening, He has. Never stopped being in control. The Bible affirms it time and time again, out in Isaiah 55 8-9. God says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." That means His control may not always look like you expect. He's always working. Even when you don't see it, even when you don't understand it, having faith doesn't mean having all the answers, It means trusting the one who does, It means releasing the need to know everything and resting in the truth that God knows exactly what He's doing. And you know what? When you do that, when you truly believe that God is in control, the anxiety fades, the mind quiets, and the soul finds peace, because you're no longer carrying the world on your shoulders. You've placed it in the hands of the one who created it. Letting go of control isn't giving up. It's trusting. Maybe a part of you is thinking, if I stop worrying, am I being irresponsible? What if trusting too much makes me naive? But trusting God doesn't mean surrendering to chaos. It means surrendering to the care of the one who never loses control. It's not about sitting back with folded arms, hoping everything will magically work out. It's about walking with the confidence that you're not walking alone. Yes, it's planning. But praying before every decision. Yes, it's working. But without obsessing over the outcome. It's doing your part, while knowing God is doing His, and His part is always perfect. Trusting God is a deep action, a posture of the soul, a constant declaration of faith. And even though it's not always easy, it's the path to a lighter life, because when you let go of the need to control the uncontrollable, your heart breathes. You start to see things differently. You begin to notice blessings even in the middle of chaos. You learn to be grateful for what you do have, instead of fearing what you might lose. You become more present, more sensitive to God's voice, more aware of His faithfulness. And that transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a daily process, a practice that starts with a sincere prayer. God, today I don't understand everything, but I give you my day. Take my plans, my fears, my doubts. Guide my steps. Let your will be done, even if it's different from mine. I trust in you. Because that's the bravest act of faith, to let go and let God move. What to do when your faith feels weak. When our faith feels weak, our first instinct is usually to isolate ourselves. We stop praying, stop reading the Word, stop seeking God, as if we're waiting to feel better first. But let me tell you something important. It's in those very moments that we need to draw closer to God the most. God is not scared of your weakness. He doesn't reject you for having doubts. On the contrary, He embraces you in the middle of them. Look at what Isaiah 42:3 says. Bruised reed He will not break, and a smoldering wick He will not snuff out. Do you know what that means? That if all you have left today is a tiny spark, if your heart feels broken, God won't throw you away. He doesn't come to put out the little flame that's left. He comes to breathe life into it, so that your faith can burn again. So, what can you do when you feel that way? First, be honest with God. Tell Him exactly how you feel. You don't need fancy words or to pretend you're okay. He already knows your heart. Second, don't distance yourself from His Word. There will be times you won't feel like it, but God's Word is like bread. Even if we're not hungry, our soul needs it. One word from God can renew everything inside of you. Third, surround yourself with people who lift your eyes back up. God often speaks through others too. Don't fight this battle alone. And lastly, remember this. Your faith is not measured by the intensity of your emotions, but by your decision to keep trusting, even when the path gets dark. And that is true faith. How to strengthen your faith in times of trials don't destroy faith. They purify it. And even if that sounds harsh, it's the truth we often don't want to hear. When everything is going well, it's easy to say we trust God, but it's in the valley, in the silence, in the waiting, where our faith is truly strengthened. Maybe you're going through an illness, a loss, or a season where everything seems to have come to a halt. And you're asking yourself, where is God in the middle of all this? The answer may seem simple, but it's powerful. God is with you. Even when you don't feel Him, even when you don't see Him, even when everything in you wants to give up, He is still working in the invisible, holding you in the silence. Remember Job. He lost everything: family, health, possessions. And yet in his pain he said, "Though He slay me, yet will I hope in Him." That didn't come from a fleeting emotion. It came from deep conviction, a certainty cultivated over time in intimacy with God. And you can have that kind of faith, too, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's like a muscle. It grows through use, through effort, through resistance. Here are some practical ways to strengthen your faith during trials. Feed your spirit more than your emotions. Don't let today's feelings rule your faith. Connect to what you know is true, and that truth is in the Word. Even when your emotions shift, God's truth remains unshakable. Remember what God has already done. Make a mental or written list of the times God has carried you. He hasn't changed. If He was faithful before, He will be faithful again. Talk to God every day. You don't need a perfect prayer. Just speak to Him. Sometimes the most powerful prayers are honest tears. God understands your heart even better than your words. Don't ignore the process. God is more interested in your spiritual growth than in your temporary comfort. Every trial holds an eternal purpose. Your faith won't just survive this trial. It will come out stronger, firmer, more alive. Because God doesn't waste pain. He uses it to transform you from the inside out. What faith in God really means, many times, we confuse faith with intense emotion or with absolute certainty that things will go our way. But real faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting even when you don't. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." That means believing without seeing, trusting without understanding, staying even when you don't feel anything. And that is hard, because we live in a world that needs to see to believe. That wants guarantees, signed promises, immediate results. We're taught that if you can't prove something, it isn't real. If you can't feel it, it doesn't exist. But faith goes against that logic. Faith chooses to believe even when everything around says otherwise. God works differently. He says, "Believe first, and then you will see." Faith is an act of surrender. It's saying to God, "I'm not in control, but you are." It's laying down your plans, your fears, your expectations, and placing them in the hands of the one who truly knows what's best for you. And the most beautiful thing is, faith doesn't come from us. It's a gift that God Himself places in your heart. Romans 10:17 says that faith comes by hearing, and hearing through the Word of God. So the more you hear His voice, the stronger your faith becomes. Hearing God doesn't always mean an audible voice. Often, it's a peace you can't explain, a verse that jumps off the page right when you need it most, a gentle whisper to your soul in the middle of the chaos. Remember this. You don't have to be strong all the time. You can feel weak, tired, confused, and still have faith. Because faith is not the absence of weakness. It's the decision to keep believing in the midst of weakness, not faith as a source of inner transformation. Faith isn't just a refuge in difficult times. It's also a powerful force for inner transformation. When we decide to fully trust God, something within us begins to change. Our priorities are reordered, our way of seeing the world aligns with His perspective, and our hearts are softened by His love. So often, we want God to change our circumstances. But what He wants to transform, first, is our hearts. He longs to shape our character, strengthen our patience, teach us humility, and grow a thankful spirit, even in the midst of lack or pain. Faith is the pathway through which that transformation takes place. It's like fire refining gold, uncomfortable, intense, but absolutely necessary to reveal who we truly are and who God is shaping us to become. It's not just about believing in a passive way. It's about living with an active expectation that God is working in every area of our lives. It means choosing to walk in obedience, even when we don't fully understand the path. It's saying, Lord, I can't see the way out, but I trust that you can. Transform me as I walk with you. And that transformation doesn't go unnoticed. People around you will begin to see the peace you carry, how you respond to conflict, your ability to forgive, your strength in weakness. That is faith in action to a life that testifies without speaking, simply through the change God has done within. True faith doesn't just help us survive the storm, it makes us grow in the middle of it. And once we understand that everything we face can be a divine tool to shape us, we stop resisting and start cooperating with the process. Because we know that God doesn't waste pain. Every tear, every battle, every silent moment has a purpose when placed in the hands of our Creator. Maybe today you feel exhausted. You don't know how to keep going. Your faith feels tired. Your soul is silent. And you're wondering if God really sees you. Take a deep breath and hear this. God sees you. God is not far away. He knows every tear you've cried in secret, every prayer you've spoken without words. He is not indifferent to your pain. He is with you in the middle of it. Faith is not the absence of struggle. Faith is choosing to trust in the middle of the struggle. It's believing even when you don't understand. It's getting back up, even when you feel weak. If today all you have is a tiny spark of faith, that's enough. Because Jesus said that with faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. You don't need all the strength. You just need to give Him your heart, exactly as it is. So today, I invite you to make a sincere prayer. It doesn't matter if you're silent. If all you can say is, God, help me. He hears your heart. And if this message spoke to you, if it touched your soul, I encourage you to share it with someone else who also needs a word of hope. That you never know how many people are hiding pain behind a smile. And before you go, write in the comments, God, I trust you even when I don't understand. That will be a declaration of faith over your life. Thank you for staying until the end. May God renew your strength today, surround you with His peace. And in the middle of your weakness, may you discover true strength, the kind that only comes from Him. See you in the next video. God bless you.